Hi guys. Recently I was called to do ayahuasca. Now, I've been called to do ayahuasca for years now. It's something that has been on my mind, something I've already researched. It's been years. But obviously it wasn't something I felt like I needed to do right then, or I would have done it. In fact, for those of you who are familiar with Kambo, or you've seen my videos with Kambo on here, I'll try to remember and link that down in the description box. Kambo actually stepped in front of ayahuasca. I was originally going to do Mother Aya first, and Kambo just kind of, I call it stepping in front of. It was almost like Kambo said, hey, try me, like experiment with me, you need me first. And so I did. I did 2 sessions with Kambo, and then ayahuasca was like, we gotta go girl, we got work to do. So I knew it was time for me to meet ayahuasca. So about 4 weeks ago, I started planning this trip. Originally, I was just gonna go to an ayahuasca retreat, do my ayahuasca, and then come home. But then I said, why not make a vacation out of it? I've kind of been doing this ever since I got sober 3 years ago. I've been like trying to live, I guess you can say. I've been trying to live my life and do things I've never done before. So as some of you may or may not know, May 12th was actually my 3 years sober. And right now I think it's like May 20 something. Yes, it's literally May 20th today as I'm recording this. So May 12th, which was last Thursday, was actually my 3 years sober from alcohol. And that was the day I actually flew out to start my retreat. So anyway, let's go back a month ago. I started planning this trip because ayahuasca said, it's time to go. It's time to go. It's time to do this. I'm ready for you. And I knew I was ready. So after doing my Kambo, I started to plan this trip. Well, 4 or 5 days, something like that, before I was due to leave on this trip, I found out that my brother had passed. And that was interesting because it came out of nowhere, and I found out a couple of days later, and there was just some things I really started to see during that time, which is not a coincidence. It was meant to happen. Everything's meant to happen as it's supposed to. I don't believe in coincidence, but it put me in a specific mindset, and I was going through some family things mentally with siblings and things like that, and I found out some other information that was very informative. It was just a lot. So a lot was happening, and I knew it was no mistake. I knew it was by design, and I was going through my own internal process of what happened and how I was coping with it. It was positive compared to how the old me would have coped. But anyway, so that happened, and I took this little nugget of new information and I said, I'm gonna bring it with me, which was really profound because as I get into my story here, I'll describe to you guys and explain what kind of happened to me during my journey with ayahuasca. And I did actually see my brother, and it was beautiful. I saw my brother, and in fact, I got to connect with him in a way in the spiritual world that I never did here on this earth, and it was really nice. So let's talk about my experience with ayahuasca. I did write specific questions before I even went to do ayahuasca, things that I've never heard anyone answer. I've never heard anyone say. A lot of times when you hear people talk about their experience with ayahuasca, they just talk about how they felt, which is beautiful. It's really nice to know, but everyone's journey is so different, and no one should expect anything with ayahuasca. Somebody who is a really small person may need a whole lot of ayahuasca, and someone who is a bigger person may need just a little bit of ayahuasca. Someone may purge throwing up to where another person taking ayahuasca may purge out the other end. At least that was my story. So it was very different. You can't what's right for one person isn't necessarily right for someone else. And quite honestly, the way that you should go into ayahuasca is having zero expectations. You want to have intentions, but those are very different than expectations. I feel like expectations will give you a very different journey, and we can talk about that too. So let's discuss how this journey began. So Thursday night on May 12th, it wasn't Thursday night, it was actually Thursday morning, May 12th, about 3 o'clock in the morning, I got up and I left to go on this trip. I think I flew out about 7 something, and I got to my place around, I don't know, 2 in the afternoon. I had one night to stay in a hotel before the retreat the next day. And the reason that I did it that way is just so that I had a night to kind of rest. You know what I mean? Like just to kind of rest and prepare myself, because I gotta say, I was really anxious. I don't know if I was nervous. I kept feeling like I was nervous, but looking back, I feel like it was more anxious, because you're just ready. Especially when you are ready for ayahuasca. If you're doing it to get high, or you're doing it to think you're gonna get high, or if you're doing it because it's like a fad, or you're doing it to be like anyone else, you're gonna have a very different experience. Whereas if you go into the experience with ayahuasca as, I am ready for this, I'm being called to step forward and take part in this, and to learn and grow and do the work, you're gonna have a very different experience. And so that was my story. And so I needed a little bit of rest. I needed time to wrap my head around what I was about to be doing. And so one night to myself to kind of sit there and prepare it was good. I needed that. Friday morning I got up. Of course I was fasting. Now, like I said, everyone's journey is so different. A lot of people actually I was around did not fast at all. They actually ate. Now, it's a very strict diet. They call it the dieta. I can put a list in the description box. It's very strict on what you should eat prior. And in fact, they encourage you to start your dieta like 2 weeks to even a month before you go, which I do think that's actually important to follow a specific diet before you go, but you don't have to. I actually wasn't very strict about mine before I went, and I had a very pleasant experience with ayahuasca. But I will say, 2 days before I fasted, I didn't have any food. I just drank a lot of coconut water and a lot of Gatorade Zero, so no sugar added, and I had a lot of Pedialyte. I just wanted to hydrate because, well, I was kind of like, I don't know what's going to happen to me, but I do know that I'm going to purge in other ways. So I didn't know if I was going to throw up. I didn't know if I was going to have a number 2. I didn't know if I was going to do both at the same time. I didn't know, because you can purge in a lot of other ways. Singing is a purge. Dancing is a purge, which I did a lot of. Sweating is a purge. Laughing is a purge. Crying is a purge. All of these things are purges. It's ways to get out energy. In fact, you experience this in combo. When you do combo too, it's just different with ayahuasca, very different. They're not even similar. So Friday night comes around, I get to the resort and check in. I meet with the medic, make sure they know I have asthma. I was allowed to keep my inhaler with me, but I had to keep it under my mat, just in case during my journey I needed it. I could raise my bucket and let someone know, hey, I need my inhaler, I'm having a hard time breathing. I like how they did that. I like that you raise your bucket, your puke bucket, because when it's really dark at night and you're journeying with Mother Aya, you really can't see anyone in front of you. And I mean, you can, but it's different, and sometimes faces change. And so when everyone's wearing white who works there, and when your buckets are white, it's easy for them to see you when you need help, and it's easy for you to see them. So when you needed help, or you needed to go to the bathroom, or you needed to get up, or any kind of assistance that you needed, you would raise your puke bucket, basically, that was white, and they could see you easy. Whereas if you were to raise your hand in the dark, they wouldn't necessarily see you. So they'd come around and they would assist you. I was talking to the medic, and he was telling me if I needed anything, or I felt like I couldn't breathe, then I could raise my bucket. They also have certain things that kind of help during your ayahuasca journey. it doesn't necessarily mean it makes your journey go away. But if you're having too strong of an experience, sometimes you can use lemon or salt. So they had lemon and salt nearby. And this is what you would use if you were kind of feeling it too intensely. I actually never saw anyone need it. And I saw some people have some pretty intense journeys. Pretty intense, I'll say it like that. I don't know how they felt and took it, but it was very intense. Friday night happens. You go in and you introduce yourself. You give one word about why you're there, and maybe even discuss your intentions for Mother Aya. Maybe small things, short things, things that when you're in the middle of your journey will be easy for you to remember, because Mother Aya has a way of placing your awareness in different areas. So if you have a short intention, something that's kind of condensed and to the point, it's easier to remember. I also wrote my intentions down and kept them by my mat on the floor, so that if I at any time was having a really intense experience, I could just look at those notes and remember, okay, this is why I'm here. And kind of also help calm me down, you know, when I was in the middle of my journey. So we go over our intentions. Everyone, you go into a room and everyone takes their time introducing themselves. You may say where you're from, why you're here, and the first word that pops in your head. And mine was feel. A lot of people had like peace and healing, love. Love was a big one. As we're preparing for the ceremony, they tell you to form 2 lines, and everyone would come up. We were all kind of feeling the nerves at this point, all kind of feeling a little anxious, but everyone was in really good spirits because we were ready, you know? We were all nervous, but very excited and smiling a lot. We were hugging strangers, like everyone, we were all strangers, and we were just hugging each other, like, I love you, right? Like, there was a huge sense of community where I was, and none of us knew each other. Although we weren't total strangers at this point, because we had already congregated and spoke of why we were there. So it's like we weren't really strangers, but we kind of were strangers. And it just felt good that we were all there to discover something about ourselves. There was a link between all of us, and that felt really nice. There was like I said, a huge feeling of community and support right off the bat. So we would step up one by one, and we would hold our arms out and stand on the ground, and they would sage us just to clear our energy. And then we would turn around and they would sage us again, and then we would move to the side, and there'd be a person there with Florida water, and they would spray it on our hands, and we would just kind of rub it down our body and get this energy going, right? Then we would stand aside and kind of wait for everyone to get cleaned, to get cleared, if you will. Then we were ready to begin the ceremony. So when the ceremony begins, after everyone's been cleansed and we're all ready, we again form 2 lines, and we come up one by one, and we tell the person who stands in front of us how many cups we feel that we need, right? We told them what we felt like we need. This is your journey. So you sit with Mother Aya and you ask what you think you need. I guess different places are different. Sometimes the first night they start you off with 1 cup. Sometimes they would let you choose your number on the first night. So I don't know if different places are different, but I believe everyone started off with 1 to 2 cups. And then at the 2-hour mark, you would get what's called a booster. And at the booster, you could take as much ayahuasca as you wanted, of course within reason, but I would say, like, let's say you took 1 cup of ayahuasca and 2 hours later during a booster, maybe you weren't feeling it very much, you could take another cup. You could take 3 cups. They wouldn't really let you go over like 5 or 6, you know, you don't want to overdo it, but I mean, I don't think you would want to anyway. It's really strong, like very strong. This ayahuasca was very strong and very concentrated. It wasn't watery, it was like thick medicine, okay? I actually did not hate the flavor. I don't know one person there who liked it. In fact, some people would take it and immediately throw up, which I guess that's what was meant to happen, you know? But personally, I really enjoyed the flavor. In fact, I sat with it after I drank it, and I was telling her, like, you taste good. I was telling her she tasted good because she did to me. To me, in my palate, it tasted like instant coffee that was burnt. But I have a weird palate anyway. Like, I have a weird palate. I like weird things. And so it didn't bother me. Plus, I'm not sure if this had something to do with it, but because I had fasted for 2 days, I mean, it felt nice to have something thicker than coconut water and like water on my stomach, and it was thicker, you know, so it felt like food in a way. So I very much enjoyed it. So, but anyways, you get your medicine and you wait on everyone. You take the medicine at the same time. So we would get our medicine and we would go back to our mat and we would just kind of wait and sit with the medicine. Some people would hold it over their heart and be going over their intentions. I see an eye right now, a green eye. Someone's hazel eyes. Somebody's watching me with hazel eyes right now. And we would set our intentions and we would just sit there with the medicine and kind of connect with it before we began. Some would just hold it in their hands, both their hands like this. Some would put it on the ground and just kind of breathe, right? I think your breath is so important during ayahuasca. If not, it's probably the most important thing to remember. After everyone comes back to their mats, the instructor, the facilitator will say, you know, it's time. So we will all drink at the same time and then we wait. Now, I don't know about anyone else. I can only talk about my experience, but I'm an empath, so I feel a lot of energy like that, right? I want to back up just a little before I tell you this part. When I first did Kambo, my first session ever, right before the medicine was put on my gates or burns, if you will, I felt it. I felt Kambo. So I knew what Kambo felt like before the medicine was put on. I immediately had like really crazy diarrhea. I don't know how else to say it. Like out of nowhere. And I went and used the bathroom, and then when the medicine was put on, I had the exact same thing happen to me. This happened to me with ayahuasca. When I got my medicine, while everyone else, thank God I went first because it gave me time to go to the porta potty, because that's what we had porta potties. This is all done outside. We basically slept in this big room that looks like a garage without a door. So you're still outside. You're outside, and it was hot. But it was beautiful. I mean, you could hear the birds. It was just beautiful, you know, the whole experience. And so I sat down, and there was only a couple people in there. So many people were still getting their medicine. And I was like, oh my God, I've got to go to the bathroom. Like, I've got to go to the bathroom. And I mean, it was like, it came out of nowhere, guys. Especially for me not eating for 2 days. It was really odd. So I had to run to the porta potty, and I used the restroom, and it just kept coming. It just kept coming. It was like water coming out of my spinal cord. I know, TMI, but honestly, it's beautiful. It's part of the journey. I've got to tell you this. I don't want to leave this out because it's part of it. And at first, I was like, oh no. I was hoping I wouldn't have diarrhea. Like, I was hoping I would purge throwing up and not get diarrhea. But honestly, you know, ayahuasca gives you what you need, not what you want. And the best thing you can ever do is just surrender to it and let her do what she wants and let her do what you need, right? And so looking back, I actually am glad that I purged only the lower way, because it wasn't that bad. It was annoying every 5 minutes for 3 days, 2 days, but it wasn't as bad as the people I heard throwing up. I didn't mind running to the bathroom to take a poo. So anyway, I come back, and by then everyone was coming to their mats, and we took the medicine. As I said, I was already feeling the medicine before I even drank it, physically, but immediately. Now, other people, this didn't happen to them. Some people, it took them 15, 20 minutes. Some people didn't even feel the ayahuasca until their booster. Not me. I'm not sure if this is because I fasted for so long, but I felt it immediately. immediately. I started to get a little anxious after I drank it, so I started breathing. I cannot stress to you how important your breath is when you're doing ayahuasca, even combo, anything you do in life. Breath is life. So if you don't know anything about breath work, and let me tell you, breath work is work. It's very hard. But, excuse me, once you get it down, it's a lifesaver. It is life. So we can go over breath work. In fact, we can go over breath work one day, and I can show you guys what it looks like and how to breathe properly. I mean, most of us are breathing improperly, and this is what keeps disease in our body, and it's just incredible how your breath can really affect your entire life. I can't stress that enough. That is very important to remember with ayahuasca, combo, anything you do, bufo, anything you do, right? Breath is very important, so can't leave that out. So I started breathing through my stomach, bringing it up through my chest. I started breathing and calming myself down, and I just kept reminding myself, you're safe. You're safe, you know? This is gonna be done in the blink of an eye. The music really helps. They have music playing while you're on ayahuasca. It plays the entire 4 hours, 4 to 5 hours. And so I was sitting there and I was just connecting. And as I got that anxious feeling, I told Mother Aya, I said, do with me what you want. Whatever you want, do it with me. Show me what you want to show me. Take me where you want to take me. I kind of let my intentions go just a little. And I just kind of allowed and said, okay, whatever you want from me. Because I felt like I needed to just immediately surrender because she was so intense. So I initially wanted to just sit on my mat. And the first 30 minutes after you drink ayahuasca, every time you do it, they want you to sit straight up, just to kind of let the medicine work in. So everyone was still sitting up, but you could tell some people were feeling it, some weren't. And she told me to get up. She was like, get up and go out to the fire. There was a fire outside in the village. So I got up with the help of an assistant, because when you're on ayahuasca, you can walk, but not very well. And you just, you know, it's not one of those things that you can like write poetry while you're doing it. I mean, not when it kicks in. I even brought my tarot cards, and I was like, I'm going to do a reading, because I thought it was going to be the most incredible tarot reading ever. And I was like, I'm going to do a tarot reading while I'm under my journey, right? And she was like, no, you're not, right? No, you're not. So I got up with an assistant, and they walked me to the fire outside. There were mats on the ground, and I just sat there watching this fire. And she said to me, you are the fire. And she just kept repeating that to me. That was the first thing I heard her say. She said, you are the fire. And if you guys know, I'm an Aries, which is a fire sign. And she told me to bend the fire. She was like, move it. So she told me to use my body as a way to move the fire. So I was sitting out there, and mind you, this isn't even 20 minutes into my journey, the first night. She hit me hard. There was other people outside with me, but most people at this point were still on their mats trying to get this experience going. But some of us were already feeling it. So there was other people outside with me. The poor lady on the side of me. I say poor lady on the side of me, but I don't want to say that, because she was having the experience that she was supposed to have. It was just very intense. I don't even want to say rough, because I don't know how she took it. But let's just say this. She was vomiting very hard. She was convulsing. She was shaking really bad. She was moaning really loudly in like almost pain. But she never gave up. She kept going. And so I remember when it was trying to distract me, because naturally you want to like look, or you want to be like, are you okay? Do you need anything? But you have to trust that, like, of course, she's going to be taken care of. Everything that she needs. This is whatever ayahuasca is doing with her is what ayahuasca is doing with her. And you have to remind yourself, whatever's happening to the people around you, whether they're crying, whether they're screaming. There was a guy in front of me howling, literally howling. They called him Wolf. He was howling, and it was beautiful. It sounded so beautiful. It actually sounded like an animal. I was like, wow, that's talent. And But I kept, anytime it would come into my field, I kept telling Mother Aya, like, no, this is not for me, it's for them. So I was staring at the fire, and she said, bend the fire. So I used my body to bend the fire, and I pulled back, and the fire came towards me. And I tilted my head to the right, and the fire bent with me. I mean, actually bent with me, guys. I'm not talking like I saw it in my head. I'm talking it actually moved with my energy. She told me to go to the left. I went to the left. The fire bent with me. It moved. Now, this is not uncommon for me. In fact, for years, this is something I've been practicing, and I've quit doing it, which is really weird. And I don't really tell a lot of people about it because it's a little odd. But I can bend fire. I can. And there's a couple of people who know me, who know I can do it. But I don't have a lot of control over it, so sometimes it can be a little dangerous. Like, I've had some experiences where houses have caught on fire, and when I was literally in the middle of bending fire. That's a true story. So, and it's happened more than once. So it was funny how she came to me during my first night, within the first 20 to 30 minutes of my experience, because this kept going. And she was telling me to bend the fire. So anyways, long story short, the fire was bending and moving with me. And then she said, lay down. Very soft. Mother Aya is very gentle. She's very gentle and smooth and sweet. And one of my intentions that I kept asking her was, show me true love. Show me true love. Show me real love. Not this love you see in the world. Not the love that people think is love. Not this love with conditions. Not this love that judges. Not this love that's like, you know, we fight, or I don't want to see that type of love. I don't want to see romantic love. The love that the world tells you is love. I don't want to see that. I want to see real love. And she showed me love, and it was so gentle. And I remember thinking the whole time, I don't need this intense, crazy experience. This is what she wants me to know, is that love is gentle. Love is patient, and it is kind, and it's very soft and smooth. And she just said, lay down. So this is where it gets really interesting. Even through all of this, what I'm about to tell you, she was still very gentle. I lay down, mind you, I'm still outside by the fire. At this point, time started to fade. But the only way that I know how long I was kind of in the journey at this point, because I kind of got lost in the fire, was because they said at the 2-hour mark, they would offer you the booster, right? Where you could step up and get more medicine. So I was laying outside for probably about at least a whole hour. Before I realized it was time to get the booster. And so this should tell you how long I was kind of in this particular journey. So I laid back, I did what she said, and I started to get cold. And so I raised my bucket, because you bring your bucket with you anywhere you go. Even if you feel like you don't have to throw up, you have to bring your bucket with you, because Mother Aya has this funny little way of like, don't think. Right? Don't think. Because if you start to think something, she's going to show you. Oh, she's going to show you. Right? So you bring your bucket with you. So I brought my bucket with me, and I raised it, and I needed a blanket because, like I said, I was getting cold. So they brought me a blanket, and all of us had the same blankets. They're all white blankets. And she told me to bury myself. She literally said, die. She told me to die. And I was never scared. Never, not one time, not for 1 second was I scared to die. She told me to die, and I trusted it. So she told me to wrap myself up in this blanket. So I literally tucked myself in, started from my feet, sitting on this mat outside in front of the fire. And everything's going on around me, mind you. This girl beside me is having one hell of a time. Whether it's good or bad to her, I don't know how she perceives it, but it was definitely going on beside me. And then the guy in front of me was howling. Of course, there were assistants coming to talk to them and kind of help them, because the people who had really loud experiences, they would try to get them to be a little quieter, just to not disturb anyone else. Or they would just, because they want them to still have their experience, they would move them. away from other people who were quieter, only to still be able to express themselves, but just in their own safe space, right? So that they didn't have to feel like they needed to stop. So all of this was going on, and I was wrapping myself in my blanket all the way to the top, and I laid straight back on my back, and I'm getting comfy, and I'm looking up at the sky, and these trees were just so beautiful. I can't get over the trees, man. Like, mind you, there was a full moon on Sunday, so just a couple of days before the full moon, so the moon looked so beautiful, and it was kind of raining, just very lightly, just light rain. I almost thought at one point that a bird had shit on my face, because you could hear birds outside even though it was nighttime, and I just, like, water kept falling on my face, and I was in my journey, you know, so I'm like, did I just get shit on, you know? But I just left it, and then I realized later it was rain. Thank God. So I take my arms beside me, and you know how you, like, make snow angels? I took my arms beside me and I started grabbing the earth, and I just kept thinking how grateful I was to feel earth, you know, to be a part of it. Just, it was so grounding. And so I could feel these leaves, and I noticed all of these pine needles, like so many pine needles. They were like, they had fallen off the trees. And I picked one up, and I held it over my head. I don't know how long my hands were in the air, but it doesn't matter. A long time. And this pine needle, I still have it. I wish I would have brought it to my camera. Maybe I can go get it. I kept it and flew back with it. I put it in my bag because I connected with it so deeply. So this pine needle that had fallen on the ground, it had 3 stems on it, and I named them, my 2 daughters' names and mine, and I started to braid them together, and I was basically doing like a spell. And I was like, we're gonna stay together, we're gonna be strong, we're gonna show love, we're gonna be love, we're gonna be ourselves. Like, I just felt so grateful to be a mother. That was really my whole experience, was mainly about my children and how important they are to me and how lucky I am to be a mom. And I was just so happy. And I kept bending these little pine needles after I braided that when I stuck it in my bra, and I just kind of held it with me because I felt like these are my girls and they're with me and they're not going anywhere the whole time. Like, they're just going to stay with me in spirit. So I just kept picking up pine needles, and one of the times I bent the pine needle, it was just one, didn't have 3 stems, and it made a little man, and I made it dab, and it reminded me of my little 9-year-old daughter because she's always dabbing. Every time she gets off the bus, she like runs and she dabs. I don't know, it's just her thing. And I giggled. I started laughing, which is a purge. So there's a girl beside me throwing her guts up, screaming, yelling, crying really loud. There's a guy in front of me howling. There's another guy, he was doing different things, and there's a couple of other people who are kind of quiet like myself, and I just started laughing out of nowhere because it just was funny. So at some point I put that pine needle down, and she reminds me to die. And so I said, okay, and I put my arms back in the ground, and I took the earth, and I grabbed as big of a handful as I could get, and I started pouring it on myself. I started covering myself with dirt, and I would pull them back down and grab more earth, and I would, until I got to where I was covered in dirt. My pillow, because I brought a pillow out there, and then they got me a blanket. I think they brought the pillow to me. And I mean, I was covered in dirt. My arms and then my feet were covered in my blanket. At this point, after I had gotten my arms covered in dirt and my chest covered in dirt and leaves and pine needles, I covered my head with the blanket. So I looked like a body bag. I looked like a crime scene. If you go to a crime scene and you see, but I was like smiling under the blanket. At this point, it started to rain, and I mean rain, like rain. And they never moved us. They let us lay out there, and I remember feeling like so home. I felt so home, and I didn't feel like I had to be anything else or anyone else. I didn't feel less than. I didn't feel scared. I felt more peace than I've ever felt in my entire life. And I don't know how long I lay there. But it couldn't have been too long because they hadn't asked for the booster yet. And Mother, I think I fell asleep, and I fell asleep while it was raining on me. And mind you, it's a light rain. It's not a heavy rain, but it was enough that it was raining. My blanket was wet, and I was wet underneath it. But it was warm. And at some point, I came back to my awareness, and she said, "Get up." She told me to get up. So I started to move. It was like I was being reborn. And I moved the dirt off of me, and I got up, and I took the blanket off, and I couldn't stop swaying. And the remainder of the time that I was there, the entire weekend, I danced. I have never danced so much in my life. I mean, I danced, I swayed, I looked like Stevie Nicks. It was like I was a new version of myself. I couldn't stop moving, like everything. I was just moving, and there's music, and it's just beautiful. By the time I got up and I dug myself out of my own grave, which was also symbolic for me, because when I was an alcoholic, I was digging my own grave. When I was a smoker, which I quit a year ago, I was digging my own grave. When I was a cutter, I was digging my own grave. Every day I was putting in more nails in my coffin, just digging my own grave. And then this was the only time I dug my own grave for a better purpose, for my life. Instead of to die, she wanted me to live. That was what she meant. So I dug my own grave, happily. And I died in that grave. And I was woken up, and she held me the whole time, and I sat up, moved the covers, and about that time, they called for a booster, and I got up, and I stepped forward, and I take my booster. When I take my booster, I feel very intense, right? Very intense. And I go back and I sit on the mat for a little bit. At this point, with your booster, you don't have to wait on everyone else because everyone's already in their journeys. Some people don't even take the booster, some do. So the booster, you don't have to wait. You just take it when you're ready. And so I took the booster, and I was sitting in front of the fire. But at this point, it really kicked in real hard, and she told me to go lay down on my mat. So I raised my bucket, and someone came and escorted me, helped me walk to, which was very difficult. I was tripping all over my feet. Helped me walk to the Jaguar room, which is the room that I chose before I went, and set me back on my mat. And I saw the only vision I ever got, the whole time I was there. I only had one vision inwardly. Now, later, I have an outward vision with my eyes open. But this is the only vision that I had with my eyes closed. And I saw a door. It was a blue door, very blue. It was like cobalt blue, bright, just beaming. And I saw this door during my journey for Friday night. So I go and I sit on my mat, and I'm feeling a little weird. So I'm having to breathe again, but I feel fine. I never felt crazy. I never felt scared. You know, it's because I think the reason I wasn't feeling scared of anything is because I've already had a lot of demons, you know, and I've faced a lot of my demons. Like, I think I've faced them all, like, you know what I mean? I mean, in things that are really, you know, should be embarrassing to face. I mean, a lot of you, I've even discussed them about, you know, like my bulimia, things like that. So I think because I've faced a lot of my demons, or all of them, because I'm not afraid to do that, I think that's why I had a more pleasant experience, because when something would come up, usually in here, I would address it. I would just kind of sit with them. I had, you know, like I said, I had a lot of things that came up for me. I had a lot of people that came up for me, and I would address these people. I would acknowledge they had shown up in my awareness. I would speak their name. I would, if there was something I felt that maybe that they needed forgiveness for, I would say I forgive them. And I would also say I forgive myself. For whatever reason, if there's something that I needed forgiveness for, or I felt like maybe, even if I didn't feel like I needed forgiveness, I felt like I needed to ask for forgiveness. So I just kept saying, I forgive myself. If someone would come up in my mind, I would say I forgive them, and then I would say I forgive myself. I just kept saying that. Then again, after some time passed, she told me to, see, she's still with me. I can't stop moving. Ever since then, I just been moving. And she told me to lay back down, so I did, and I fell asleep. Sometimes they call this surgery, when they do surgery on you, when Mother Aya's doing surgery on you. And I fell asleep for a very long time. I woke up freezing. I was like really cold, and they came and brought me a couple of blankets so that I could go to sleep, and then I just slept the rest of the night. I woke up and I had signed up for a day ceremony. It was very hot that day, but I did it anyway. So I get up early in the morning. I wasn't allowed to eat because there's like certain rules right before ayahuasca, so I was still fasting. And not everyone signed up for the day ceremony. Some just waited till the night ceremony on Saturday night. I get up, I do the ayahuasca, same thing. They sage your front, your back, they Florida water you, and you wait, you all take your medicine at the same time. The day ceremony was done outside in this beautiful area. Oh, it's beautiful. And same amount of time, 4 or 5 hours, and you're all just having your own journey. So the same thing happened in the day ceremony. During the day ceremony, the only thing that I really kind of experienced, same thing, it was beautiful, very gentle. She was just so gentle with me, was myself. I was actually swinging. I was pushing myself as an adult, this me. I was pushing myself on the swing as a kid. I didn't see a vision of that. I just felt it. I felt myself doing that. And so it was neat. That was interesting. And during the day ceremony, there was a song that had come on, and some of the lyrics, I don't remember them, honestly. I don't remember them all. But what I did hear made me cry, because and not in a I'm sad type. I'm crying because I'm sad, or I'm having this crazy epiphany. It was just grateful. I felt so grateful. And I think it was a lot for my kids. And I just bawled out of nowhere. I mean, I'm talking like I was half asleep, heard the song, the lyrics, they resonated, and I just crying. I'm talking crying like verbally out loud, you know, crying. And once that passed, as everything does, you know, I just got really hot, and they kept bringing me cold rags. They were bringing cold rags to other people because it was really, really hot. And I just continued my journey and breathing and falling asleep. It's beautiful. It really is. It's amazing. And then Saturday night rolls around. But before we talk about Saturday night, during the day ceremony, once it was over, they tell you when you're done with ayahuasca, when you're done journeying, it's over. When it's over, it's over. Mine was not that way. My journey was not over. In fact, I thought my journey was over long before the ceremony ended, but I was still in a journey and I didn't know. So at this point, people were allowed to eat. Now, of course, they don't let you eat fruit and things like that because they said it can it can kick ayahuasca back in. So they had like rice, like really plain brown rice. They had some cucumbers, cabbage. It was amazing. It was the best food I ever had in my life. It was like vegan, you know. And they had some beans, just a couple of beans, very, very few. And they had some lettuce. And I killed it. I killed the whole plate, guys. I killed it. So I started eating, and I felt like absolute death. Everyone was feeling better after they ate, but I felt worse. I mean, to the point where I had to go lay down, like, bad. I felt like I was going to throw up. I felt awful. In fact, I felt so bad that I was like, there's no way I can do the night ceremony. Like, I just don't feel well. And I thought it was because I was having like a heat stroke, or I got overheated, you know. Even though I was staying hydrated, mind you, there were several times actually that I had to go to the medic and get electrolytes. So he would put this like really salty stuff in a cup, and then I'd have to fill a little bit of it with water. And then if I had a headache, it would go away immediately. That was amazing. That was an amazing experience. But when I talked to the lady, because she had come back in the room, they call it integration, she would come in and we would all sit around and talk about how we felt, our experience, and we would kind of compare it to each experience, right? Not other experiences, not others, but our own. and what our intentions were. We would just kind of say, what did we see? How did we feel? What is our word today compared to the first day? So she noticed I wasn't feeling well, and she was just reminding me, hey, just breathe. You're safe. This is happening for a reason, right? And then she said that my food probably kicked it back in. And so everyone else was already off. They were laughing. You know, the ayahuasca had worn off for them, but not me. Not me, sis. I'm talking, she was in me doing her work. So it just took longer for her to leave my system. And then the night ceremony rolls around. I took a very long nap after that, and we prepared again. Now, the night ceremony, you could feel the energy. Everybody was ready. Everybody was ready to go. We were all so happy. They called it date night because they said, all right, this night's going to be intense with Mother Aya, because she eases you into it, and then boom, right? So we were all ready. Like, yeah, let's do it, you know? So the energy was so high. I just can't get over how high the energy was. And we all did our thing again, right? They saged us, Florida water, and we got our medicine, waited on everyone, and we took it. Like clockwork, Mother Aya was in and ready to go, for me anyway, personally, coming from an eye place. She worked like a charm in me, and let me tell you, wow, okay? I was not even in this earth. I was not here. I don't know where I was. I don't know how many dimensions I went to, but I wasn't here. Let me tell you, I was not here. I could not stop dancing. And there was one point when I wrapped the blanket around me and I was like planted into the ground. Like my feet felt like there were roots coming out of them, and I was just planted like a tree. And I just kept moving and swaying and smiling, and I was so happy. And there was a guy in front of me making frog noises, and not the same guy, it was a different guy. And he was like, and it was so funny to my spirit. Like, even though I was like, no, this isn't for me, it's for him. It was just beautiful. It kind of reminded me of Kambo. And I was like, Kambo, are you here? I kept feeling like Kambo had visited me during my journey with ayahuasca, and it made me giggle. And so at one point, I just start busting out laughing. And like, there was a couple people in the room in my section who were crying, and they were throwing up, and they were like profusely throwing up and crying, and they were having their journey. And then my journey was very funny. Like, it was so funny to me, not just like feeling Kambo there, but just life. Like, life is lighthearted. Life is lighthearted. And she kept saying to me, I love life. Not I love life. Like, I love being alive. I love life. No. She kept saying, I love life. As in, she was naming herself love. And then saying, I am everything. I love life. You see what I mean? I don't know if you guys see what I mean, but that's how she said it to me. And it just made sense. I was like, yes, I am love, and I'm alive. That's all we need to know. It's so simple. So as the night went on, I was dancing. When the booster shot came, I took the booster. Boy, was I even more gone. And then we had our porta potties, right? Now, mind you, the whole weekend, every 5 minutes, I think the longest I went was 30 minutes without pooping, okay? I'm being serious. And I mean, it was like water. It wasn't like solid. And it was just coming out of me. So I was purging just at a different end. And so I'm not kidding, like every 5 minutes to 30 minutes was about the longest. I was getting help to go to the bathroom. So on Saturday night, I went to the bathroom, and they have these candles. They're LED candles, so we don't burn ourselves because we're all over the place. They were in the porta potties, and I remember there's a mirror in the porta potty. And I was doing my business, and after I was done, it was very strong at this point. Oh my God. I did feel nauseous. I did feel like I could throw up. But she kept telling me not to throw up. And the only thing I could think of is because a lot of people were thinking that you're supposed to throw up. If you don't throw up, you're not having an experience. But I knew that mine was different. And I think why she didn't want me to throw up is because I spent so many years being bulimic. You see what I'm saying? So I think she was like, I want you to try not to throw up. Do the opposite of what you would naturally do. It was a different experience for me. She wanted me to purge a different way. It was different, right? So anyway, I'm in the bathroom doing my thing, and I'm breathing. Let me tell you, I'm breathing, you know, and when I clean. And then I stand up, I noticed the mirror, and my eyes were glass. Guys, they were like glass sea foam, like greenish blue, and they were like radiating out of my face. I looked like somebody totally different. And then I held my hand up in the mirror, and I had 8 fingers. I had 8 fingers, and they were very long. Like, my fingers were so long, and I kept doing this, and she told me to make my hands dance. So, and mind you, I could still hear the music. The music, you can't escape it. The music's all, they have these loudspeakers. And my hand was dancing, and it turned into fire. As in the first night, right? The first thing she ever said, which is funny because the first night when I was staring at the fire, when she was telling me to bend it and saying that I am fire, the fire was kind of blue underneath. You know how fire does that? Well, this night, my shadow was blue and it turned into fire. And she said, see, I told you you're fire. So I started laughing again. And I get out of the porta potty, and the guy who was walking me back to my mat was like, oh, you're feeling it. And I just started laughing. I was like, yeah, I am. And I laughed the whole way back. I mean, I was laughing so hard. I mean, loud. Like, you guys been with me a while, especially if you've been watching my tarot. When I laugh, it's loud, And so I was just like laughing. And I went back to my mat, and I swayed for several more hours. I can't tell you how much I swayed. And then I just fell asleep. I just fell asleep. Got up the next morning, we did our integrating, I think people ate breakfast, they were eating pancakes or something, and then I just left because I had more of my trip to go on, and I was set to mark off my bucket list, check into my other hotel. I had about 2 hours to drive, 2.5 hours, and but wow, guys, I don't even know what to tell you. Like, I'm definitely doing ayahuasca again. I don't even know what to say. Like, how amazing this experience was for me, and how much I got out of it. And now that I know what real love is, and just my heart is so full. It's so full, and I just see everything so differently. I thought I appreciated my daughters before, but like, wow, and community. I think I'm seeing what community means and how important it is to have a strong community around you. So yeah, that's my experience with ayahuasca. I couldn't wait to tell you guys how I felt and what happened to me. Just incredible. I plan on going to other places. I plan on leaving the country. I plan on going to all of the resorts that I can go to and just really experiencing life. But let's talk about some of the questions. Okay, I wrote down questions before I even did ayahuasca because I was like, I've never heard anyone say these or answer these questions, and these are things I really wanted to know. So what does ayahuasca taste like? We've already talked about that. So to me, now everyone has a different palate, not everyone's taste buds are the same, but for me, ayahuasca tasted like burnt coffee, like burnt instant coffee, very different type of coffee. I've seen ayahuasca at different places that are watery and they look more like a drink. This ayahuasca where I went was very strong. You barely needed any of it. Well, for me, and it was very thick and grainy. But it tasted like burnt instant coffee, and I absolutely loved it. I loved it. I did not like it at all. I love the flavor. I can't wait to have it again. And I also feel like it's important to tell Mother Aya that she tastes good, to tell her that you love her, that you appreciate her, that, I don't know, I just feel like it really helped me. Real quick, I want to give a side note also. If you feel like you have to fart or anything during ayahuasca, don't trust the fart, okay? Don't trust the fart. I'm not saying that happened to me, but it's very close to happening. So if you feel like you have gas on ayahuasca, go ahead and get him to walk you to the bathroom, okay? Don't ever trust an ayahuasca fart. Anyway, so what else do we have? All right, did you get heartburn from it? I asked this because I get heartburn frequently. I'm actually on medicine for it. I have to take it daily, so I wasn't allowed to take this medicine before I went. No, not at all. When they say it's a medicine, it's a medicine. My daughter also asked me, does it feel like drugs? Does it feel like you're on drugs? No, there's nothing comparable to ayahuasca. It doesn't even kind of feel like you're on drugs. I don't know what to tell you it feels like. You just kind of have to experience it for yourself. Not at all. It is definitely not a drug, and you don't feel like you're on drugs at all. It feels like a medicine. I don't know what to tell you. Like, so no, there's no heartburn with ayahuasca, at least for me. Even like burping. I did have burping, which is also a purge. There was no heartburn. So, are you aware of yourself? Yes, you're totally aware of yourself. So during ayahuasca, you know who you are. You know how I told you I wrote down my intentions beside me? I was able to read. Like, you know who you are. You remember everything. You know. But it's just different, right? It's different. Some people had experiences and they weren't allowed to remember them the next day because Mother Aya said, we'll come back to that. Like, Mother Aya would give them an experience or give them a vision and be like, we're going to cover it again tomorrow. See what I'm saying? So you don't necessarily forget what you experience, nor do you forget who you are. You're aware of who you are. Like, nobody could do anything bad to you while you're sleeping or anything because you're aware. You would wake up. You are totally aware. You may even be more aware of what's around you. So, no, you know who you are when you're on ayahuasca. Exactly. You know exactly who you are. That has a double meaning. All right. How important is the atmosphere around you or the people around you while you're on ayahuasca? Very. I can't even like tell you how important that is. Like, it is very, very important, the people that's around you. And it's important your environment that you do it in. It's important that you also breathe and remember that other people's journeys are for them and not for you. That what one person experiences is not necessarily yours. It's also important to remember whatever experience you have, be grateful for that experience. It doesn't have to be intense. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't have to be wild and loud and crazy. You don't have to throw up. You don't have to poop. You don't have to be sad or scared. You may not see anything scary. It's all about you at the end of the day. It's not about anything else. It's about you and your mind. What does it feel like coming off of Aya? Well, some people say that it's instant, you know, once it's off, it's off. Once it's gone, it's gone. Mine dwindled. Mine took a long time to wear off. And then you feel totally back to normal, but your mind is different after that. So what is it like? It's different for everybody. I don't know what to say. I wrote, is it a slow, gradual coming back to reality? Mine was. Some people were like, they tell you a lot of times when it's done, it's done. That was not my story. Mine was not. On 2 occasions, 3 actually, because the last day I felt it the next morning. So not necessarily. It's different for everyone. Okay. How are you able to sleep each night after Aya? Oh, you're good. Oh, yeah. For me anyway, I don't know about anyone else. Some people were up all night. Some people took ayahuasca, and when it wore off, they were literally up all night. Not me. Not I. Not I, said the little brown cat. No. When ayahuasca finally dwindled out of me, I was done for. Like, I had to sleep. I couldn't not sleep. I was so tired. But that's not everybody's story. Okay. When day 3 comes and the ceremonies are finally over, how do you feel when you're going home? I felt so ready to face the day. I felt more ready than I've ever felt in my life. I felt like a new person. I was ready to hug my kids. I was ready to just kiss them and say thank you for being here. Thank you for coming into my life. I felt grateful for everything, and I was ready to do it again. I was ready to do it again. I'm ready. I'm ready to go. I'm ready to face life. She also told me, I forgot to tell you guys this, she told me I was supposed to do music, which is really funny because I started off doing music when I was a kid. Like, the first thing I ever got into was choir and music and singing. And I don't know if I'm supposed to sing or if I'm supposed to do instruments, but she said, you're supposed to be doing music. What are you doing? That was another thing I was given. Is it something you personally feel you need to do again? Here's the thing. I don't feel like you have to do anything more than you already have. I feel that we are born with everything, or let's just say this. As we know that we are not born, we are the unborn and we are the undying. But when we come through this existence, we are born. When you are born into this existence, you are equipped with everything that you need. And a lot of that being your breath. So do I believe that you have to do Kambo, you have to do Bufo, you have to do ayahuasca, you have to do psychedelic? No, I don't. Not at all. I think they're tools to help you on your journey, but I definitely don't think you need to do them. So if you don't feel called to do them, but you want to dive deeper and find out more about yourself and discover who you are, you can do that easily. Tell the universe that's what you want. You don't have to have any other experience. You don't have to try anything else. You have everything that you need inside of you. You are everything. Okay? So there's a couple of more. If I wanted to, could you read or write while in the middle of a deep ayahuasca experience or the journey? No, not at all. Not me. I couldn't. No, I thought I was going to be able to. In fact, it's kind of helpful if you do bring a journal and a pen, which I did have, and I did journal after my experience so that you can write it down and kind of integrate what you've went through. But during your experience, personally me, oh no, not at all. There's no way, because you're trying to take it all in. It's not time for you to process. I think you're supposed to process it after, right? Can you sleep while on ayahuasca? Are you unable to? I could sleep. I definitely, in fact, a lot of people do, not everyone, but a lot of people do fall asleep on ayahuasca, and it actually is kind of peaceful because she's kind of doing the work on you while you're unconscious. And it's a different kind of experience, but you're still under the medicine even though you're sleeping. And it's a very good sleep too. Would you suggest an object to help keep you connected? Like, you know, some people bring teddy bears or they bring pictures. You can if you want. I didn't. I found that earth became my gift. Like, remember I said the pine cone, or the pine needle rather, I picked it up and then it had 3 spots on it and I weaved them as me and my daughters. That became what I kept with me the whole time. So I don't believe you need anything. I think you've got what you need in here and in here. But if you want to, I don't see a problem with it. How often or how many times did you vomit? I did not vomit at all. Not once. Were you allowed to drink anything while on ayahuasca? Yes, you can have water during your experience, but that's it. I want to say a couple of things. If you guys are going to go to any kind of ayahuasca resort, at least in the United States, some things you may want to bring, flashlights, because it's dark. And if you're wanting to find things while you're on ayahuasca around you, like maybe you want to find, maybe your lips are dry and you want to find your chapstick or something, I don't know. You want to use a flashlight. What else did I write down? Bug spray. I would choose a natural bug spray, one that whenever you put it on and you're rubbing your face, which you will do, you'll rub your face, you're crying, you know, one that's not going to burn your eyes and make you go blind. So maybe like a natural organic bug spray. You may have to use it more than once depending on how bad the mosquitoes are in your area or that area, but bring bug spray, especially if you're outside. Okay, you could also bring bug bracelets, the ones that are citronella bracelets, those help. A hoodie or a jacket I would suggest bringing, especially, it don't matter where you are at night, it gets cold, and sometimes ayahuasca can make you feel a little cool, like your body temperature cool. So I would bring it just in case. Better to be safe than sorry, especially if where you go doesn't have blankets. Okay, baby wipes. Yes, I would bring baby wipes. Now you're not going to think to grab them when you go to the bathroom. You just don't. They have toilet paper for that. But when you get back to your mat, if you want to wipe your hands, baby wipes come in handy the whole time you're there, even when you're not under the journey. When you've come out of it even, it's good to have baby wipes because you are outside, basically, for 3 days. Okay, and things that you can have leading up to ayahuasca, even right before you take the ayahuasca, would be your no sugar added Pedialyte, maybe even Gatorade Zero, and then of course coconut water. So you want to stay hydrated, but this is my experience with ayahuasca. I'm sure there's so much more to say, but this is what I have for now for those of you who are really wanting to see a video on what did I experience, how did I feel, and yeah. I'll put the information for you guys down in the description box if you want to know where I went. I absolutely love this place. I love the people, and I highly recommend it. So instead of going into it in this video to save on time, I'm going to put that down in the description box. But I love you guys. Thank you so much for being here with me, for supporting me on my journey, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.